ladies, we should have Enzo Orlando here with us. Hey, Enzo, how's it going, my man?
I'm doing good, brother. How are you this morning?
I'm doing good, man. It's been a long time since I've seen your face.
Oh, it's been a while. It's probably been since March.
Yeah, I think you came on my show probably a week or two before the pandemic, and here we are. And who would have thought that here in September we're still quarantined. There's no fans in the stands. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, it is still crazy, but at least we have somewhat sports back. That's been the good part ever since July.
Yeah, I mean, what did you do? I mean, did you miss sports at all? I mean, what you do?
I feel like it just took me like a week, but I gotta agree, everyone was in like some kind of depression from like late March to like mid-May. I mean, I worked, but that's all I pretty much did because I had nothing else to do.
See, I completely disagree with everyone. I'll be honest, I didn't miss sports really that much at all, and I haven't been watching as much as I usually am when they came back. To me, I mean, we got basically almost everything that we wanted to. We got the NFL draft. That was the big thing. That was the only thing I want. I didn't even ask for baseball to come back. I didn't ask for the NBA to come back. All I wanted was a safe football season, and here we are a week away from the NFL season, and it looks like at least we're going to start on time, and that's, a good thing. But with that being said, I'm glad you're here. I first want to get your take on the Indians trade with Mike Clevinger. I said to kick off the show, I said, why do fans, and I know me and you both do this at times occasionally too, why do we rush to judge trades when they first come out? Why do we feel like we need to grade trades? This trade to me is a better trade than a lot of people give it credit for. I like the addition of Josh Naylor. He's going to be your everyday left fielder. You have now a backup catcher in Edges who can replace Roberto Perez if he ever gets hurt. That was a weak point on the team. This Alcantara guy's really good out of the bullpen. He could be a starter next year. And you got some potential replacements for Lindor in 2 years. The Indians do the best job at buying and selling at the same time. And I'm going to let you go because I see you're disagreeing.
I'm kind of disagreeing because I'm just looking at right now, 2020 season, what the Indians need to do to get to the pennant. As of course, right now we really don't have much bats. I mean, Josh Naylor, he can be an okay bat, but that's pretty much about it. I was more concerned about our offense. I mean, our starting pitching has been great. I mean, giving up Pleasure, that's going to kind of hurt us, but that's going to be the hard part. Our bullpen looks a little weak, but I hope that Cal Quintrell, he can help us out in the bullpen. That's the part where I saw that one game against the Royals where the bullpen kind of blew it at the end when Bieber was pitching great. So I kind of see it as kind of a loss, but we'll see in the future because all I know is Francisco Lindor is leaving right after this season. He's going to go to a big market team like the Yankees or Red Sox or the Dodgers.
So, Enzo, I'm going to counter this point by saying two things. Number one is the Indians' bullpen has been the pleasant surprise of the season. They're third in the major league in bullpen. They're third in the ERA. And all these young guys, when it comes to, Maton, Simber, Whitgren, this Carriage guy, even And, I know a lot of people have given Brad And crap, but I know his first couple outings were shaky. But he's second in the league in saves. I mean, when the game is on the line, Brad And gets the job done. When the game is not in balance, and we've seen this a lot of times with pitchers, when they're not in their rhythm, when it's not a safe situation, when they don't come into the ninth inning, they struggle because their routine is mentally messed up. But I'm telling you, I'm confident in this bullpen. And our offense, I know it struggled at the beginning of the year, but it's starting to pick up. Franmil Reyes is really hot. Tyler Naquin has become your everyday right fielder. We know about the top four. We know what Roberto Perez does behind the plate when it comes to catching. You look at this Indians team, and their pitching is loaded. This is a World Series team right now and for the foreseeable future.
Well, here's the thing. We just got to see if they keep on playing like this for the next month and going into October. Because I remember 2017, we were playing just like this towards the end of the season. We thought, we got the Yankees first round. That's going to be a sweep. And we ended up blowing a 2-0 lead against them. So you never know in playoff baseball what's going to really happen. Like, I see this team making the playoffs I mean, World Series, you just don't know. But as long as Franmil's hitting, Jose's hitting, Naquin, Lindor, when you get these guys hitting, I'm not worried about our starting pitching. Our bullpen, it's been impressive. I gotta say, I agree with you on that. But we gotta see because sometimes they can be a little shaky. So you never know, really.
I agree with you, and to me, the biggest surprise of this season is, by the way, if you look at the playoffs right now, I have it right in front of me. Let me pull it out again here real quick. The Indians right now would currently be the number 3 seed in the American League. Their opponent, if the playoffs started today, would not be the New York Yankees. It would not be the Houston Astros. It would not be the Minnesota Twins. Enzo, our first round opponent would be the Toronto Blue Jays.
The Blue Jays. And I have not been paying too much attention to them. I know the Blue Jays play in Buffalo now. I know they have Vladimir Guerrero Jr., who's a great hitter, but I haven't really paid much attention to them, and I think I should. But I remember last time we played the Blue Jays in 2016, 5-game series, but that's when they had Josh Donaldson and Troy Tulowitzki and Edwin Encarnacion and Jose Vidal, so totally different team. The Blue Jays are much younger, and I think I would give the Indians the edge in this one just because we got the more experienced players, pitchers, and coaches, too.
That, and again, our starting pitching, I mean, you look at what we're going to have going into the postseason. I mean, Shane Bieber could be arguably not only the Cy Young Award winner, but the MVP of the league. Aaron Savali is really coming on. That curveball that he throws is so nasty. It locks up hitters. You still have Carlos Carrasco. You still have Zach Plesac, who looked really good the other night. And then this kid, Tristan McKenzie, is coming. It's like
that kid is special. That kid is special. He's gonna be on Bieber level in like 2 years, I would say. I mean, he's already looking like that right now. But let's wait and see when he's in the full season.
Corey Kluber, Trevor Bauer, and Mike Clevinger, and he's still having a bunch of pitchers.
I'm telling you, man, pitching wins you baseball games. I'm telling you that. If you have a good pitching, you have good bullpen, that usually wins. You just got to get a few runs. You don't need to go up 7-0 every game.
I agree with you, which is why I think this team could potentially go to the American League CS, if not the World Series this year. I know everybody's concerned about the bats, but the bottom line is, if these bats just score 2 to 3, 4 runs a game, we should be good.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I mean, I said when this whole 60-game season goes out, I said this is the only chance the Indians have to make it to the World Series. I believe this is the year the Indians can make it. And it doesn't matter what happens to Lindor or not, because this is our chance right now. I mean, I don't see, if Lindor leaves, I don't see us going back to the World Series. I see us going back to the playoffs. Maybe that's it. But this is our only chance to make it to the World Series, just by looking at this team, looking at our pitching and bullpen, and just enjoying Lindor while we have him.
Well, let me just say this. What are your thoughts on the 60-game season and these rules that Rob Manfred has put in when it comes to the runner on second base, the 3-batter minimum for a relief pitcher, the 7-inning doubleheader? You know, what are your thoughts on all these rule changes? My thought is, this extra inning base running rule, I don't understand why more teams are not just bunting the runner over to third base and getting a sac fly and putting him in. I understand analytics are saying it's not the right play, quote unquote, but to me, and I think Clevinger spoke to this the first time the Indians went through that extra inning rule with the Royals, you put a guy on second base that the pitcher didn't even earn. I mean, this is ridiculous.
I never liked this rule to begin with. I think that first loss to the Royals, I'm like, this is complete BS. I'm not going to lie. Because you already have a runner on second who didn't even earn his way there, and then you're like, the pitcher's got to worry about him and the batter, and just all they need is a simple base hit, and the game's over. I get Manfred wants to do it to speed up the game, but I don't think any baseball fans really like this rule at all. I'm all right with doubleheader 7th innings, because I think that works, picks up the game, and it makes the doubleheader go clear. I mean, no one wants to sit around and watch a 9-inning doubleheader, because that's too much baseball. That's too much for the players, too. The 3-batter rule for pitchers is, I mean, it's all right, but I think it kind of screws up the way Francona coaches. It kind of hurted the Indians right there, too.
So, my thing with the 3-batter minimum is, as you said, let the manager manage. But it's also going to cause a lot more injuries, in my opinion. Now, we haven't seen that a lot yet, but these relief pitchers are built for, certain situations. You look at our guy, Oliver Perez. He's a left-handed specialist. He should only be able to come in and face left-handed power-hitting bats. Now when we bring him in, he may have to face two right-handers or somewhere on the line, and his body is not prepared for that. My last thought on the rule changes with you is, what's your thoughts on the National League moving to the universal DH? That's the one rule I do like.
I do like it because, I mean, pitchers, first of all, majority of them really don't like hitting anyway in the National League. Like, they mostly bunt or they just give their best effort and they strike out or they get a walk. That's what they do. And I think it's good for the pitchers in the NL just to rest their arm and stuff and save it for pitching, not really for hitting. I mean, it's just the way it's going to go, and I think it'll just make baseball more evenly played matches between NL and AL. So it's not going to make a difference. Won't make a difference in the World Series either. That sometimes hurts the American League teams when they don't have the DH.
I agree with you. All right, I want to move on to what's on the screen here when it comes to the NBA bubble. The first thing that I have thought about, especially over the last couple of days, when watching Game 7 between the Rockets and Thunder and the Nuggets and the Jazz, is by far, no matter who's in the East, no matter who's in the West, what's on your screen right now, the Lakers and Clippers should make the Western Conference Finals pretty easily, I think. And that series, to me, will determine not only the Western Conference representative, but to me, this is your NBA Finals. This is your moneymaker. I don't think Milwaukee, Boston, Toronto, or Miami, whoever makes it out of the East, can beat one of these two Lakers and Clippers teams. But I am worried about the Lakers because when I watch the Lakers, this is what I see. I see LeBron, I see Anthony Davis, and I see 4 or 5 bumps. When I watch the Clippers, I see Kawhi, I see Paul George, I see Patrick Beverley, I see Lou Williams, I see Marcus Morris, I see Montrezl Harrell. I see all these guys making big contributions. I don't see that with the Lakers.
I mean, I kind of disagree with you. I feel like the Lakers, they got more rest. That's always good for LeBron, of course. And then, of course, they have the Rockets coming up, and I think they can win that series in 5 because, of course, the Rockets have no big man to stop Anthony Davis or LeBron. All you really got to do is drive to the paint with those two, and that's it because they don't have Clint Capella anymore, Houston. They don't. They just have a bunch of shooters. That's how the Rockets are. And my thing with the Clippers are they struggled to beat just Luka Doncic in the Mavericks in the first round without Kristaps Porzingis at all. And even last night, they kind of struggled a bit against the Nuggets, but I feel like the Nuggets really don't have a shot against the Clippers. But I have a feeling the Lakers are going to take that. If it happens, Lakers-Clippers, it'll be Lakers in 7. Just because you got LeBron.
And I agree with you, but I'm just worried about after LeBron and AD, who's that third guy on the Lakers? I mean, I don't trust Kuzma. I especially don't trust KCP. I want KCP out of the starting lineup and on the bench. I'd rather start Caruso. Danny Green has been hot and cold all year. McGee and Dwight Howard, while they're great defenders and great rim protectors, they don't score the basketball. I just see the Clippers having a bunch of guys that can guard AD and LeBron. The Clippers were literally built to beat this Lakers team.
I just got to remember LeBron James is a different breed when it comes to the playoff, and I put him over Kawhi anytime. I know Kawhi had success with the Spurs and the Raptors, and now with the Clippers too. I just don't see him stopping LeBron James. We forget how unstoppable he was in 2018, carrying a bunch of nobodies and Kevin Love and JR. Same thing when he was 22 in 07, carrying no one. He literally had no one other than like Big Z in 07. So we just forget how good LeBron is in the playoffs, and he's pretty much unstoppable. I mean, no one can stop him other than if you have 4 superstars. The Clippers, they only got 2, Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, and that's about it. Maybe Lou Williams or Patrick Beverley, but we all know how Patrick Beverley plays against LeBron, and it's a little dirty, and LeBron, of course, will whine or something about, not getting calls when he goes in for a foul.
I agree about how unstoppable LeBron is, and I love LeBron. Don't get me wrong. I think he is the GOAT. I think he's the best player in the world. I think LeBron can win any series by himself. But I'm just worried about the lack of help. I think LeBron will be tremendous. I think LeBron can score a triple-double every game. I'm worried about when the going gets tough, when LeBron needs one of these guys to make a shot. The Lakers don't have that third guy that I believe you do need to win the championship.
So you're kind of saying like the Lakers really don't have a point guard because, they don't have Bradley at all. They don't have...
not necessarily a point guard. I'm just saying a third player. Like Golden State had Steph, Durant, and Klay Thompson. When they won in 2015 and almost won 2016 against our Cavs, Draymond Green was that third player that you could at least depend on. The Lakers don't have a third player they can depend on. You cannot depend on Kyle Kuzma game in and game out to deliver in the big moment. Kyle Kuzma, he's very talented. He can give you 30 points one night, but another night he can give you 0 points. And I'm also concerned about Anthony Davis down the stretch in big games. In 4 games against the Clippers this season, he has 8 total points in the fourth quarter in 4 games. That concerns me.
We just got to see what happens. I mean, maybe Anthony Davis, he just didn't really play well against the Clippers at all when the games were at the Staples Center. But, I mean, we're in the bubble now, and Davis looks much better than he did before with the Lakers. I feel like he's more comfortable in the way LeBron manages around the court. So, I mean, that's why I just give the Lakers a little bit of an edge because of LeBron. But I kind of wish they would play this game at the Staples Center because we would never seen anything like it. But with just how the world is, it's going to be in the bubble and all.
Yeah, so speaking of the world of the bubble, really quickly, I'm going to take this opportunity to ask you, what are your thoughts on the NBA and everything that they're doing with the bubble, with the boycotts, with the names on the back of the jerseys, with the Black Lives Matter, social justice written on the court? What has your takeaway been from all this and everything going on in the bubble?
I mean, I don't have a problem with the players kneeling or anything or having the Black Lives Matter on their jersey. I don't have a problem with that. I think when it came to the boycott, I mean, it's kind of like if you were an employer at a company, you say you don't want to go to work, and your boss asks you why, and you're like, well, I just want to protest. I mean, an employer would just fire you immediately because you got to show up to work. You don't have time to go out and protest. I mean, we have the available of free speech through the internet, on Twitter, on social media. And that's the best way you can do it. You can't just be telling your boss, I can't do it. I didn't really like the boycott that much, but I get what they're saying. But I'm kind of glad they went through quickly because, I mean, these athletes do have a large audience to reach out to, and they're able to do that. But they can't be just telling them that they can't play. I mean, at least this was for short term. If this went on too long, Adam Silver would not have been happy at all.
I mean, do you think, because the whole point of the bubble was to go down there and really still pay attention to the issues currently going on in our country, do you think that the bubble is accomplishing that? I mean, are you noticing the names on the back of the jersey, the Black Lives Matter? Are you thinking about that as you're watching the game? Because I think that was the initial goal.
I'm kind of thinking about it. I mean, you see it on the jerseys, you see it on the court too, so they're just trying to bring awareness to social justice in our country, and that's the same thing going on in the WNBA, which I know doesn't get as much attention as the NBA, but I feel like in basketball in general is doing the best job. I would say next would be the NFL and what they've done, because this was all started by Colin Kaepernick in the first place, and Goodell seems to be more open about social injustice and all that now, which I'm surprised with. And I think the one that's doing it the worst is Major League Baseball. I get we have Jackie Robinson and all that, but that's about it I've seen from baseball. They've been doing their best, but the thing is, you know, baseball has more of a Latino players coming in. And most of them are not even from the U.S. to begin with. It's not like in basketball where you got majority of African Americans from the U.S. playing there. Same thing in the NFL, too. And in baseball, there's not much. I mean, the only one I think on the Indians is Tristan McKenzie, and that's about it. I mean, or you got Tim Anderson on the Chicago White Sox. I mean, there's not many you can name anymore like you could 20 years ago.
Right. All right, well, let's get back to some basketball, Eric, because it was very controversial, the foul call on Giannis in Game 2 between the Bucks and the Miami Heat. Now, my takeaway on this whole playoff thing and the officials is I really feel like Game 7, the Jazz-Nuggets game, the Rockets-Thunder game, was very sloppy basketball. I thought the call on Giannis was a very bad call. It's the end of the game. You just got to let them shoot and let the players decide the game. But my takeaway is everybody chimed in and said the Bucks were going to be this great team and they were going to run for the East. And I said, hold on, pump the brakes a little bit. Because besides Giannis, they're trying to make Chris Middleton a number 2 guy. He's a number 3 guy. The Bucks are not a great team, but I'm just shocked at how bad they're playing against Miami because I would think, an MVP should be able to beat the Miami Heat, right?
Oh, yeah, he should definitely beat Miami. And he won Defensive Player of the Year, too, and he hasn't been doing the best defense in this series against the Heat at all. I think he's playing a little bit soft. against the Heat, and he said something about how Jimmy Butler is his friend and something like, you can't be doing that. If this was going on in Jordan's era, forget it. Jordan would go hard on anyone, and these players today, I can see it from Giannis too, as just some of them are just too soft to handle because everyone's in a bubble, everyone's together, everyone's like hanging out with each other because there's nowhere else to hang out. So they're all like, it's like a CYO tournament or something together because they're all together, hanging out, chilling. They're all like friends. None of them are like trying to like, yo, I hate you. I really hate you. It's not like that anymore, and this bubble thing's making it worse when it comes to like player relationships. As more of it's more friends, and not like how it was in Michael Jordan's era, where everyone was like, "Hey, you're my enemy, and I hate you."
Exactly. So when you look at the East, obviously Milwaukee, Miami, Boston, Toronto, in my opinion, Boston and Toronto are so well coached. And I said this right before we went on the hiatus due to the pandemic. I said when I saw the Boston Celtics, I said everybody was talking about Luka Doncic, everybody was talking about Donovan Mitchell as these stars. Nobody was talking about the rising star that I see in my eyes, and that is Jason Tatum of the Boston Celtics. I saw when he was a rookie against the Cavs in 2018. Last year he kind of took off because Kyrie Irving kind of dismantled the team, but now Jason Tatum is starting to rise again. In my opinion, I think Boston next to Milwaukee are your two favorites. Now, if it's Milwaukee, Toronto has a shot. If it's Milwaukee, Boston has a shot. But I just think people are underlooking this Celtics-Raptors series because I think both these teams could easily beat Milwaukee.
Yeah, I think both these teams can beat Milwaukee too. I don't think Milwaukee is that good as they were last year. I mean, I think this Celtics team is much better without Kyrie Irving. They have a great coach in Brad Stevens. I think the Celtics, the man who runs the team is their star. That's Jason Tatum. That is Jason Tatum's team. He's got Jaylen Brown too. He's got some good supporting cast. I think the Celtics and Raptors series is going to go to a 7-game series because, I mean, the Raptors have a good coach with Nick Nurse, and they're doing this all without Kawhi Leonard because they still have Siakam. They still have Fred VanVleet. It's just amazing. It's just how good a coach can do to a team and help them make them good.
Absolutely. So, let's talk about this, though, really quickly because let's switch gears to some stuff off the court because we have two new head coaches in the NBA. We know the Sixers got Tyronn Lue. We know the Nets have got Steve Nash. My biggest takeaway on the Sixers, I was so disappointed in the Sixers because here's my thing, right? I'm a big fan of the Sixers. I love Joel Embiid. I love Ben Simmons. I said last year the absolute biggest two mistakes they made was let Jimmy Butler go and let J.J. Redick go. Now Jimmy Butler's lining it up in Miami. J.J. Redick had a good year with the Pelicans, and they couldn't replace that scoring. But my thing is, look, I really like Tyronn Lue, and I think Tyronn Lue can get Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid on the same page. But I think it's unfair to criticize Brett Brown. I think Brett Brown did a really good job and was in an unfortunate situation this year with the Ben Simmons injury. I mean, they had no shot against Boston once Ben went down.
Yeah, they did, but I kind of surprised that Lue is with the Sixers just because of what happened in the past with Allen Iverson stepping over him in the 2001 NBA Finals. A legendary moment, but I kind of ironic that he's there now. But I would have thought Tyronn Lue would have been a better fit with the Nets just because of his relationship with Kyrie Irving. I was kind of surprised he didn't get that job, and it was Steve Nash.
Yeah, I mean, I'm worried about the Nets because I feel like, Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving obviously signed off on this, but Steve Nash never had any coaching experience, let alone head coaching experience. Now he's going to be the head coach of the Nets, and we saw, Jason Kidd, among others, flame out there in Brooklyn. I'm worried if Steve Nash is going to be a pushover with Kyrie and Kevin.
Yeah, I think Steve Nash is going to have a hard time coaching the Nets, especially with Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. I'm going to have to say mostly Kyrie Irving because we saw how he was with the Cavs with Tyronn Lue. But I think they had a better relationship than when he had with the Celtics with Brad Stevens. He did not have a good relationship at all with his coach in Boston at all. And I have a feeling he's going to do the same thing with Steve Nash and just disagree him and stuff, even though Steve Nash was one of the best point guards to ever play the game. And Kevin Durant will still be a dominant player. I feel like Kevin Durant's one of those players like LeBron where he can just coach himself and just manage the game. That's just how Kevin Durant is, and if he's got help, he's shooting good. But Steve Nash is going to have a hard time coaching this Nets team, even though you got two superstars, even though you're expected to be a finals contender every season with these two stars. It's not going to be easy for Nash, and I have a feeling he might not last there that long if he can't handle the pressure or dealing with all these players.
By the way, next year in the East, really quickly here, you got Milwaukee, Boston, Toronto, Philadelphia should be back in the mix. Now you're going to have Brooklyn and Indiana. Even it's a well-coached team. So I think the East is a little bit on the rise. Do you have an early favorite looking at next year? Do you think Brooklyn can make it out of the East, or do you think it's Boston, Philadelphia, or even Milwaukee takes that next step?
I have a feeling it's going to be Boston out of the East. I mean, I think the Nets will be right up there. Possibly Milwaukee. I think Toronto can be there too, just because of their good coach with Nick Nurse. So I think there are possibly 4 teams. Maybe Philadelphia. Just got to see how they do. We got to see how Joel Embiid does. Got to see if Ben Simmons stays healthy. Let's see if they can also find a shooter in the offseason, because getting Al Horford was not a big help at all for them.
No, and again, we talked about earlier, you're replacing Jimmy Butler and J.J. Redick with Al Horford, who's worse than Jimmy Butler, and that big man fit did not work. And Josh Richardson, who was a way worse shooter than J.J. Redick. So I am concerned with the Sixers, but I still just really like the way that team is built. I think Ben Simmons, man, if Ben Simmons, we've seen him make threes in practice. Can you just take and make a little bit of shots in the game to free up that space for Joel Embiid? That'll free up Tobias Harris. And you just gotta find a poor man's Jimmy Butler and a poor man's J.J. Redick. One more 3-point shooter. You gotta do something to free up the space. And then I think this team is full go, because this team was such a good team. And I think if Ben Simmons played in that series against Boston, I think they have a legitimate shot to beat Boston, and they could still be in the playoffs right now as we speak.
Yeah, I mean, they could have, but just how this league is now, it's more of a shooter's league and not much of a big man's league. If you're a big man, you gotta be able to shoot just like Embiid. Horford can kind of shoot too, but what the Sixers did with this process, it didn't work at all. So now I think the process is still not over. It's still going on, and it's just they're going to keep on doing what they can to just make that perfect Sixers team. Because I thought last year they had a chance, but then Kawhi hit that buzzer beater shot in Game 7 of the semis.
Last year killed me. Last year absolutely killed me. If Kawhi Leonard did not make that shot and the Sixers go to overtime, I believe the Sixers win that game. I think they beat Milwaukee, and we know that with Golden State and Kevin Durant the injuries. In my opinion, if Philadelphia won that game against Toronto, they would be the NBA champions. That's just my opinion.
I would say if the Sixers did advance to that round and did beat Milwaukee and face the Warriors in the finals, I would say they would have lost, just because the Warriors were just unstoppable and they still had Steph Curry and all that. I would have said the Warriors would have won their fourth consecutive title.
I'm going to say, who did they have to guard Joel Embiid? They had nobody. Embiid and Simmons would have worked that series, because you could have put Ben on Steph Curry or Ben on Klay Thompson. They had the size to guard Golden State. They were perfectly built to beat Golden State. And then Joel Embiid got sick for 2 games against the Raptors, and Kawhi Leonard just literally shot my heart out in Game 7. Look, I know I'm supposed to be a Cavs fan, but I'm an Eagles fan. I got Philadelphia ties, man. I got to root for my guys.
Yeah, I like Philly too. I like the Sixers. I think that series I was rooting for Sixers, and then when I saw Kawhi shot, I heard it hit the rim. I'm like, I don't know. I don't think it's going to go in. And then it was just like, like the NBA draft lottery ping pong balls. That's literally what that shot was like. And one of the most iconic shots in NBA history right now.
Indeed. I would argue the clutchest playoff shot in NBA history.